What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock. Although this is a ska punk band, one of absolutely legendary status. You all know who I'm going to talk about. It's Operation Ivy. They're a Berkeley area band. They existed for 2 years, 87 I think to 89. I'm not going to give the whole history lesson here, and indeed I don't know every nook and cranny of the story. I'll just say that they were together for a couple years, released one EP, the Hectic EP. I think it was entirely written by the lead singer, Jessie Michaels. One of the guys in the band, in fact two of the guys in the band, are known more famously for other projects. I'm talking, of course, about Tim Armstrong and Matt Freeman? Have I got that right? I think it's Matt Freeman. Who are not only in Operation Ivy, this seminal band that influenced many other punk bands and people outside the world of punk and ska, but they're more famous for their iteration of Rancid, who's achieved like mainstream success and fame, big success for Epitaph, I believe. But also the Transplants in more recent years. I think that was started just by Armstrong and one of his older buddies. What is it, like Jeff Ott or something? But eventually came to include like other members as like a proper band, including Freeman. So Jessie Michaels, I think, has gone on to a few other musical projects, but he's been more sporadic in his involvement with music, and he's someone who's maintained sort of the ideas and ethos that seem very clear in his lyrics on Operation Ivy. And I remember reading something that he wrote in there's like 2015 or 2016. He was saying like, I'm not directly involved with punk anymore, but if punk can be seen as like an aesthetic and a sort of philosophy, then I very much try to still strive for that. If it's about being sort of nonconformist and spontaneous and energetic and so on, and I very much support that interpretation of punk. And to me, Jessie Michaels and his lyrics will mean he'll always be punk. And I know he's done some stuff with like Mike Park, what is it, Kung Fu Records. I know he did a tour where they played like at least like kind of remixed versions of some of the Op Ivy songs. So yeah, I'm a big fan of like all the different people in the band and the different avenues that they've gone. But it remains true for me that Operation Ivy is the best iteration. Like, no disrespect to Rancid or anything like that, but for me, the legacy that Op Ivy did leave, which again, it's like one EP, one proper album, which I believe is called Energy, and this is on Lookout, like a Bay Area label. But yeah, and then they eventually broke up, and a few of them like started another band right after with a similar name. But then, like I said, eventually Tim and Freeman moved on to Rancid, and that has achieved mainstream success. Nevertheless, we're going to listen to the compilation CD. I think a lot of people maybe of my age, because again, when they were making stuff 87 to 89, I was like 7 through 9 years old. Didn't discover them until I got into punk rock a few years later. Like I said, Propagandhi late 93, early 94 was my introduction to like real punk rock. Shortly thereafter, I discovered like Subhumans, The Dead Kennedys, Bad Religion, and eventually Operation Ivy. And it was cool, some of these bands, Subhumans and Op Ivy in particular, it wasn't like, I had someone pointing me in the direction. It was just like, I've sort of heard by reputation that these bands have cool ideas and like whatever. Now that I've discovered Propagandhi and Dead Kennedys and whatever, I really want to get into this. So I just sort of sought out Operation Ivy, and I remember a few of my friends getting into them because I had started to listen to them. So years after they had disbanded, they were still inspiring, young punks to, find interesting ideas and cool music and so on. So shout out to the whole band. We're going to listen to a tune they did called Here We Go Again, which is prominent for two reasons. One, I love this opening verse when Jessie Michaels started singing, which the second prominent thing about the tune is that it actually starts with Lint, as he was known then, Tim Armstrong, and he sings this sort of like atmospheric opening, which is a bit different in sort of like, the sort of atmosphere that then comes in the main part of the tune. But the opening verse by Jessie is, analyze the world I was born into, but I never could understand. Knew I never wanted to grow up if that meant being a man. Stomping on the weak keeps us the winner of the battle. Or no, wait. Dominating strict competition is the meaning of our lives. Stomping on the weak keeps us the winner of the battle in our minds. And if you think it's hard to keep track of that line said at like quarter speed, just imagine, as he's like shouting his adrenaline-fueled vocals, he nails it. And that's another thing that's really impressive about Jessie Michaels' vocals. I've talked about it before in other videos. might be seen as like an acquired taste. It's sort of like a rougher vocal sound. I remember my mom back in the day, and I was talking, oh, but listen to what he's saying. She's like, okay, I get it. You know, you like the ideas, and I do like sort of the, you know, she liked the more ska sounding numbers like Bank Shot and whatever. But she's like, his voice, and you know, I made the point, what is Bob Dylan's voice great, or are we, you know, it's what he's saying and you know his passion for the music and whatever. But yeah, I do remember that, you know, some people were like, is it like his voice? But one of the things that I think is so impressive is that he's really like on point. He's in the pocket and he's singing like really dense lines with a lot of words, but he still like manages to hit them very nicely rhythmically. So in any case, shout out to that first verse, pay attention to that. Shout out to Tim Armstrong doing the opening vocals. But here we go, this is Operation Ivy. I don't remember, I think this might be from the Hectic EP rather from their album proper. Oh, and also there was the Turn It Around compilation is what it's also from. Yeah, but the CD was remastered by John Gordon and Kevin Army. Just so you know, this is Lookout CD 10. Yep, not sure. It doesn't really say which tracks are from which, at least here. And I really don't want to have to like take that down and make you wait for it. So let's just get it. This is Here We Go Again by Operation Ivy.
Here we go again. And like the first morning, I never get understand. You never wanted to go up to that and be a man. Nothing's a competition, it's the meaning of our life. Stopping all the weekends, that's the word of our life. Futures in our life that are destroying our mind. Like it doesn't matter, make our consciousness blind. Listen to self-interest when the emotions wipe away. If that's what they call normal, then I'd rather be insane. These are people that think like you're control of your own life. You'll never get no answers. Always keep wondering what do you want, keep getting over faster. Nice little ska groove coming. Listen to that bass. Listen to the light that are destroying our minds. Listen to together, make our consciousness blind. Listen to salvations when their emotions like to wane. That's what they don't know, then I'd rather be insane. Practice of forgive what you want to do in your life. Ease up from giving up things like control of your own mind. Never gonna ask you a question, then you're never gonna. I do like how he keys up his voice for that last verse. Keep getting older faster. Different people, different emotions like to win. Different girls are normal, rather be insane. Another test of manhood. Just when you thought you won, the more we keep competing, the more the battle's just begun. It's gonna start again. Yeah, got it on repeat. But yeah, it's an incredible tune. I love that. You know, hadn't actually listened to it in a while, and so as I was going through it, I was sort of remembering some of the lyrical sequences as they were arriving. Like I said, it's a testament to not only his songwriting, but also to Jesse Michael's vocal ability. Like, whether or not you consider his voice the most sonorous that has ever graced the microphone, he absolutely like knew the sort of sonic environment he was working in. His like aggression and passion that really comes across, and ultimately, like I said, I think he's very rhythmically on point, especially with like very dense, mouthful sort of lines that are not easy to say with enunciation, precision at that velocity. So yeah, like I said, they're one of my favorite bands. They always will be. You know, many other punk bands and ska bands and even bands like outside of that sort of paradigm have cited them as an influence. As I said, I think Rancid is by far more like well known among people who aren't necessarily into punk rock like directly or primarily. But again, if you've listened to punk and or ska for a long time, there's no way you haven't heard of them. There's no way you don't, on some level acknowledge their place in ska history and ska punk history. Some people used to call it skunk. I don't think that ever really stuck. It was like, I think some writers like tried to make that happen, but I don't really like hear people say that anymore. They'll just say like ska punk. But nevertheless, it's a legendary band. We'll definitely come back for more Op Ivy tunes. There's another release I have somewhere of theirs. I couldn't find it as I was getting ready to do this, but it has some different songs like Plea for Peace and some other ones that aren't on this like main compilation. So there is some slightly lesser known stuff out there. Not sure if that was like an unreleased thing or whatever, but yeah, bottom line, there's more Op Ivy to come. Hopefully you're here for it. Hopefully you're a fan. Let me know if you are. Let me know if there's any punk that you'd like to see reacted to. Again, there's some stuff over here you can't see, but like 88 Fingers Louie, the first Rise Against album, early Anti-Flag, Funeral Oration, some Bad Brains live albums, Naked Aggression, who later turned into Meet the Virus, which is up there. Oh well, it was like a later incarnation after one of the people passed away, unfortunately. But yeah, like I said, if there's any punk bands that you'd like to see reacted to, please do let me know. Please do comment below. This channel has been primarily about techno and acid techno and so on, but I am trying to get people interested in these reactions as well, so if you're here for it, please do let me know. Other than that, have a good day, have a good night. I will see you next time. Peace.